Ron, thanks for being with us. And instead, by myself, duty and Jeff.
I'm sorry, Sydney, your audio was really garbled. Can you say that again? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. I was just introing everyone, but you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and I'll figure out making some mine.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to another segment of AWS On Air. My name is Jeff Marushak. I am a Senior Solutions Architect on our DoD Air Force team, and I am here with Sydney, Sydney, how's your microphone doing now?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, sounds great. Awesome.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. So my name's Sydney Studi. I'm a service engineering consultant on the AWS Customer Incident Response team. And today we have the pleasure of hosting Ron Kimchi, who has some really cool stuff to talk about now. Ron, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what you're up to?
Yes, sure. Hi. So I'm Ron Kimchi, based in Tel Aviv. I'm the product manager for Elastic Disaster Recovery, or DRS. I'm happy to be here today and talk about our cool new launch.
Yeah, Ron, that's really interesting. I'm excited to hear about this. Let's set the stage and kind of first establish what Elastic DRS is, and then we can talk about what the new launch is.
Sure. So Elastic Disaster Recovery was launched last November, so a year ago, as the successor service of Cloud Endure DR. Cloud Endure is a company that was acquired by AWS 2019, and we provide scalable and cost-effective disaster recovery and using AWS as the recovery site. So as opposed to what some customers refer to as traditional disaster recovery, when they run their workloads on premises and use another data center for disaster recovery, we leverage the elasticity of AWS as a recovery site. So we can really lower down the ongoing replication cost using that elasticity of EC2 and EBS, and only provision the performant or the high-performant resources when customers actually need them, if they need to recover or to run a DR drill. We've launched DRS last November, integrated into the AWS console. First, we focused on the on-premises to AWS workflow, meaning customers that are still running on-premises, but using AWS as the recovery site. And with this launch, we're moving forward for customers that are already running on AWS and can use the service for cross-region or cross-availabilities on DR.
Yeah, I can speak from personal experience. Years ago, companies would have to rent a whole entire separate data center, rent a whole bunch of different equipment, and it would sit there most of the year. They would use it like a month out of the year, and this helps solve that. So, yeah, this is really exciting.
Great.
Yeah, very exciting. So what's something that you want us to know about Elastic Disaster Recovery? Like a key message that you'd like to get across?
So I think that the key message is that you don't need to pay for those redundant costs all the time. Just like Jeff mentioned, traditionally customers would buy all the hardware, the storage, everything that they need in order to run their production in advance, and to just sit there. And for ongoing data replication, you don't need those high-performant hardware on the storage level, on the compute. So using DRS really lowers down the cost and also allows you to scale up when you need to grow. It's so simple to just simply scale up, install our agent on additional servers, scale down if you need to. So everything is extremely flexible, and you pay as you go for what you use.
Wow, that's huge. If I could ask, so what was the problem that you solved for this? How did you solve it?
Yeah, so initially we focused on, as I said, on servers that were running on premises and replicating to AWS. But a lot of our customers are actually using the service or as a first stage in a larger migration project or a migration journey, meaning they would start by migrating the recovery site by using the service. Then they can actually stop using the recovery site on premises. And at a later stage, they would also migrate their production workload. Now, customers that migrate the production workload can just simply fail over and never fail back. And then they have their application running on AWS, but they still need to meet the recovery objectives, their recovery time objectives and point objectives. In order to do that, they will enable the service when they're running on AWS. either cross-region or cross-availability zone. And that's what we've added in this launch. In this launch, we've added the ability to fail back between AWS regions. So customers that are running on AWS and fail over from one region to another can now fail back to the regional region. And we've also optimized the workflow for customers that decide to use the service for cross-availability zone disaster recovery in region. Where customers don't refer to it as failback that much, because a lot of customers that we've talked to are pretty agnostic to whichever availability zone they're running on. So in case they will recover or fail over from one AZ to another, they would simply stay there for a while. But they still need to protect those recovered instances, and that's exactly what we've added in this launch.
Yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned failover between availability zones, because it's really important to really understand what your disaster recovery requirements are. And maybe it is into a different region, but maybe it's not. And maybe you can save a lot of money by just going to a different AZ, and maybe that meets your requirements. So that's really interesting.
Exactly.
I got a question. So let's say a customer has a hybrid environment, and you mentioned already DRS from failing over from on-premises into the cloud. But what if can I use the same account that I'm already using? Maybe I already have some EC2 instances going. Can I use that same account and have that all happen in the same account?
Yeah, absolutely. And we see especially the larger enterprise customers, when, for example, thousands of servers, they won't migrate all of them in a single day. They usually break down that migration project into waves. Now, let's think of a customer that starts with all of their workloads on-prem, replicating to AWS for the recovery, for the disaster recovery, using AWS as a recovery site, and then starting to fail over subsets of their servers. So they're going to be in that hybrid state for quite some time. During that time, we allow them to do all of the DR operations within the same account, in the same console, in the DRS console. They can fail over servers that are running on-prem, along with the servers that are running on AWS, and fail them back. So all of the operations work really great on hybrid. We really focused on that.
Gotcha. Cool.
Nice. So, Ron, I have a question too. So, can I Failback as part of my disaster offering? Think DRS?
Yeah. So we see that a lot of customers, and again, if we'll go back, a lot of customers that were either required by compliance to test their disaster recovery periodically, or just wanted to test their DR plans periodically so they can feel that they can recover in case they'll need to, usually just wanted to see that they can recover. But we see more and more customers wanting to test the entire end-to-end workflow, and also to include testing failback. So with this launch, we've added the ability to perform non-disruptive failback tests. Now, when we say non-disruptive, we mean that you can go and do a full DR drill, fail over, and fail back without having any impact on the production server, not impacting its RPO. It's still replicating, taking point-in-time snapshots. And it's completely non-disruptive, so customers can do that more often. Extremely simple from the console. You can run those full DR drills and feel really confident that you'll be able to recover and fail back if needed. We support it for on-prem to AWS DR as well as cross-region, which we've just added in this launch. Oh, I'm sorry, Sydney, I think that you were.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's interesting. I had a comment about failing over into the same availability zones for cutting costs and requirements wise. But after hearing you talk about the drills, if you want to practice your drills, and that's part of the issue with DR is that you have to practice it and make sure it works. But it might be even a good idea to do those drills within the same availability zones, at least at some point, to cut down costs as well. Is that another good thing for a multi-AZ DR failover?
Yeah, so you can run your drills on multi-AZ. And as I've said, most of the customers that we've been talking to really refer to cross-AZ more as the recovery phase. So they will not necessarily fail back. If they choose to fail back, we support it as well, exactly like we do for cross-region. But a lot of customers that just want to make sure that they can recover from one AZ to another, can test that non-disruptively as well, and simply be agnostic to whichever AZ they're running on their EC2 applications.
Gotcha. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So Ron, can we see some of this as in action? I know DR exercises aren't the greatest of fun, but maybe you can kind of show how this new feature works.
Of course. So let me share my screen.
We'll let you know when it comes up.
All right.
Can you kind of prep us for what we're about to see here while this is coming up?
Yes, of course. So we're going to see cross-region DR, and I'm going to show you how I can fail over and fail back my application, a few EC2 instances. Can you see my screen?
Yep, it came up. It looks great.
Perfect. So I'm going to show you a DR setup where I run my EC2 instances in North Virginia, in US East 1, and using US East 2, or Ohio, as my recovery site. So as you can see here, I'm logged into North Virginia, to US East 1, and I will log into the EC2 console. Let me go over.
You have some instances running, I can see there.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to zoom in just a little bit?
Did you want me to zoom in?
Yeah, just so we have a little bit bigger. You can see what you're doing here. Yeah, that's done. Thank you.
Does that work? Great. So I have 3 EC2 instances, demo, cross-region 1, 2, and 3, which are running in North Virginia, in US East 1. And I've already installed the DRS agent on these 3 EC2 instances. As soon as I install the DRS agent, replication starts automatically. All the required resources for replication are provisioned automatically by the service. And I can monitor the ongoing replication in my recovery region. And that's a really important thing because we always want, when we operate disaster recovery, to work from the recovery region. We want zero dependency in our source environment in order to recover. So now we log into Elastic Disaster Recovery in Ohio. Let me zoom in again. And here you can see that I'm logged into Ohio, US East 2, and my servers are replicating to Ohio. In the DRS console, I can see that those 3 servers that representing each of those production EC2 instances. You can see that they're all ready for recovery, meaning that replication is good, the data replication status is healthy, meaning that I can get those near zero RPO, a recovery point objective. And you can also see that 2 of them were recently tested a few days ago, but 1 was never tested. So I have a pending action indicating that I should initiate a DR drill. We'll see how that works. Another interesting thing when this is a new column is the fact that you can see where you're replicating from. So you can see that we're replicating from US East 1, and we can even see the availability zone in case we're interested. So in order to initiate a DR drill, it's extremely simple. From the console, I can just initiate a recovery drill. I can choose the most recent data, and that will give me those those sub-seconds of RPO, the most recent data, minimize the data loss. But in some cases, if there's data corruption, ransomware, or whatnot, I can also select the previous point in time. Now, when I will launch that instance, it can take a few minutes. That's our recovery time objective. So I've already launched another instance before, so we can have a look.
This is huge.
Yeah, this is really cool. So it's that simple to run a DR drill. And now I'm in the recovery
And-
instances page.
Yeah, I
Yes, go
just
ahead.
noticed that you went down you were in source servers before, and now you just went down to the recovery instances, and that's what we're looking. And actually, you have a region 2 filter on there. That's why we only see one server there.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for the clarification. So whenever we will recover a server, we'll get a new row in the recovery instances. And the recovery instance is the resource where we can see the underlying EC2 instance. Let's say it was a real failover. So now my production is running on Ohio in US East 2. I can drill down into the details of that recovery instance. First of all, I have a link to the EC2 instance in the EC2 console in case I need to connect to it or whatnot.
Gotcha.
And I have a pending action to start the reverse replication back to US East 1. That's new. That's one of the things that we've added in this launch. And
so does that happen automatically, or do you have to enable, you have to hit a button to enable that reverse replication?
Yeah, so you need to hit that button, and that was intentionally because perhaps it was just a drill. Sometimes customers just want to test, see that they can recover and terminate it, so they can simply terminate that recovery instance. Or if that was a real failover, now they want to start protect that instance. So they want to replicate it back to US East 1, back to North Virginia. They can do that by simply clicking the start reverse replication. Now that will start replicating the data that all the way back to US East 1. That can also take some time. So I'll go back to the recovery instances to show you how it looks for a server that I've already reversed the replication earlier. So I'll just search it by the filter. And here I have another server, which I've already hit that button of reverse replication. It replicated the data back, so it can take some time, depending on the size of the volumes. And here I can see that I already have a pending action that I can launch it for failback in US East 1. Now I don't have to do that right away. Now the server is replicating ongoing. I'm protected from data loss. It's replicating from Ohio back to North Virginia. My production is working in Ohio. I potentially can have multiple servers, and I can wait for all of them to finish up the replication or schedule it to a convenient window over the weekend or whatnot. And whenever I'm ready, I can launch those. So when I want to launch those back and complete the failback to North Virginia, continue to work in my original region, I can just click that button. It shows me that it's going to US East 1, and it will take me directly to where I can launch that server. So you can see here that now I'm back in North Virginia. That link got me back to US East 1. So I can really know that now I'm going to fail back and launch that instance back in US East 1. That failback process copied all of the data that was accumulated during the time that we were working in Ohio after the original failover. And when I'll hit that recovery, I can see that I have the launch for failback, which is another indication that I'm finalizing the failback process. Once I'll fail back and launch for failback, I'll have my EC2 instance running back in North Virginia, and I can reverse the replication again to protect it. And I can do that back and forth between the two regions for multiple servers, so it's very scalable, obviously through our APIs as well as the console, and that summarizes that new cool feature. And I also wanted to show you another really cool enhancement that we've added. So I'll go back to the source server, and you can see that I have the replication menu in the source server list. So we've added a few options in this launch, which were really important for failback, for cross AZ, and for cross region. So first of all, we've added the stop and start for the replication. Stopping the replication basically that eliminates everything that generates cost for ongoing replication. It removes all the storage, it eliminates it, terminates all the replication servers, and stops replication. But it still retains the agent on the server and all of the configuration. And we've added that option because when you reverse replication, you might not want to replicate in both directions in the same time and accumulate additional cost. So if it was just a drill, you probably want to continue replication in both sides. But if it was a real failover and you don't have an EC2 instance anymore in your original site, you can stop the replication and only replicate in one way. Starting replication resumes it.
So it would then it would rebuild those EC2 instances and all that storage that had previously turned off.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. And you don't need to reinstall any agents in order to resume that replication. And another option that we've added is to protect your recovered instance. And that's really applicable for cross AZDR, where customers, as I've mentioned before, don't want to fail back. Meaning once they recover, they want to stay there for months or until they'll need to recover again. So by protecting the recovered instance, they decided this was a real failover, a real recovery between availability zones, and that they can now start and protect the new recovered instance.
This is neat. This is very straightforward. The console is very easy to use and intuitive. Ron, so in our last 5 minutes here, if there was any key takeaways that you would like our audience, and maybe some people who joined later and saw half of this, to take from this demo and this service, what would that be?
I think that the key takeaway is that running DR drills should be often. We want to enable our customers to test their DR plans, to test it periodically, so they'll be comfortable and they'll be ready for recovery in case they need to. They should not have any concerns running in hybrid mode, so they can use the service in order to migrate the recovery site and then protect those recovered instances, those migrated instances between regions or availability zones. And as always, we're trying to work as much as we can to lower the ongoing cost so the service will be as cost effective as possible.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that the easier it is to do a DR exercise, number one, customers will do it more often and they'll be more successful in the event that something bad happens. So yeah, this is great.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that another key takeaway is that outages can be a result of multiple factors. It can be human errors, it can be infrastructural issues, it can be ransomware attacks and other causes. And you want a single place where you can operate your disaster recovery, your failback, regardless of what happened. So it can be simple, it can be fast, and it can be scalable if you need to grow and you have lots of servers and you see a lot of customers using the service successfully. Great.
All right, Ron. Well, this is really cool, and I'm really excited that you're able to share this new launch with us. Sydney, anything else you want to add before we kind of wrap it up?
No, I think I'm good. This is very straightforward. It definitely solves a major problem here and customer needs. So, Ron, thank you for taking the time to come and show us how it works. The demo, talking about it is definitely one thing, but seeing it in action, seeing it replicate across regions, that is so neat. So thank you for doing that and taking the time.
Yep.
Thanks, you. Ron. Great. Thanks.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be back with the next segment very soon.